The atomic spy who never was, and the ones who truly were. It wasn't a shadowy Soviet operative who stole America's most guarded secret. It was a 26-year-old brilliant physicist, a naturalized U.S. citizen, who decided the future of the world was too important for any single nation to control. He didn't smuggle microfilm in his shoe or transmit coded messages on a shortwave radio. His betrayal was far more subtle, a quiet, intellectual transfer that would fundamentally redefine global power. This is the story not of the infamous Klaus Fuchs, the spy history remembers, but of the far more intricate, almost unbelievable network of idealists, accidental moles, and scientific refugees whose moral and political decisions, not just brute espionage, shaped the very soul of the Manhattan Project and set the stage for the nuclear terror of the Cold War. The bomb was built in the American Southwest, but its secrets were lost in the moral gray zones of its builders' minds. The Exodus and the Genesis. The Scientists' War. The story begins with the terrifying intellectual exodus from Hitler's Europe. Leo Szilard's doomsday moment in London, realizing a nuclear chain reaction was possible, and his frantic efforts to prevent the Nazis from getting it first. The role of Albert Einstein, the ultimate pacifist, signing the letter to President Roosevelt, setting the wheels in motion. Szilard drafted the letter and convinced Einstein to sign it. Einstein later regretted his role. The moral dilemma of brilliant minds using science for war, setting the stage for future betrayals. The Secret City. The creation of Los Alamos, New Mexico, Site Y. The unbelievable feat of gathering the world's greatest scientific minds, many of them refugees like Enrico Fermi, Italian, Hans Bethe, German, and Niels Bohr, Danish, into a desolate, heavily guarded location. J. Robert Oppenheimer's complex, contradictory leadership. Los Alamos was so secret that children born there had their place of birth listed only as Post Office 1663, Santa Fe, New Mexico. The quiet conflict. The introduction of the key non-spy characters, the Hungarian-born mathematician John von Neumann, the computer brain, and the quiet, intense figure of Klaus Fuchs. Fuchs was a German communist refugee, arriving at Los Alamos with impeccable credentials, but a hidden agenda rooted in his belief that the USSR must have the bomb for a balance of power. The cracks in the facade. The British connection. Tube alloys. The crucial role of the British mission. Many of the key scientists, including Fuchs, were part of the British delegation, Tube Alloys, and were technically not under direct U.S. security control upon arrival. This provided a security loophole. How the British scientists brought crucial early calculations on isotope separation and critical mass. Fuchs's quiet treason. Detailed account of Fuchs's activities. It wasn't about stealing the physical bomb. It was about stealing the theory, the crucial calculations on implosion, the design of the Fat Man plutonium bomb, and the secrets of the initiator. His handler, Harry Gold, and bumbling amateur, acts as the conduit. Fuchs met Gold in front of a church in Santa Fe, exchanging critical data about the gadget, the bomb, for a few $100s. The idealist's dilemma. Niels Bohr's intervention. Niels Bohr, the spiritual father of quantum physics, visits Los Alamos under the alias Nicholas Baker. He is horrified not by the scientific challenge, but by the geopolitical implications. He becomes an open secret spy, not for the Soviets, but for world peace. He argues passionately that the secrets must be shared with the Soviet Union before the bomb is used to prevent an inevitable arms race. Bohr personally meets with Roosevelt and Churchill. Churchill is furious, calling Bohr a communist and threatening to jail him. This is the most astonishing part of the story, the near betrayal by a Nobel laureate driven by moral calculus. The Trinity and the Traitors. Trinity test and the aftermath. the terrifying success of the Trinity test, the famous quotes, and the profound psychological impact on the scientists. Oppenheimer's "I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." The immediate shift in the scientists' collective focus from beating Hitler to preventing the destruction of humanity. The Rosenberg Network, the lesser spies. Focus shifts to the supporting cast, Julius and Ethel Rosenberg. Contrast their ideological, low-level involvement, primarily recruitment and non-scientific data, with the high-value scientific espionage of Fuchs. The Rosenberg Network was often less about core secrets and more about demonstrating Soviet reach and organizational capability. Their tragedy is contrasted with Fuchs's quiet operational success. The Accidental Mole. Introduced Theodore Ted Hall, a brilliant young Harvard prodigy who at 18 was the youngest scientist at Los Alamos. Hall, independently of Fuchs and driven by similar ideals as Bohr, but without the official channels, decides to leak information. Hall, like Fuchs, was never caught during the immediate post-war period. He delivered his crucial data to Soviet contacts in New York City's Greenwich Village, a mere college student acting as one of history's most effective atomic spies. His motivation? To prevent a U.S. nuclear monopoly. The post-war witch hunt. Security failures. The search begins. The FBI and OSS, forerunner to the CIA, are hunting ghosts. The focus is misplaced on known communists and loose talkers, not the quiet, brilliant men in the labs. The hunt leads to the interception of Soviet cables. VENONA's whisper. The pivotal role of the VENONA decrypts. U.S. counterintelligence had secretly intercepted and partially decoded Soviet intelligence cables since 1943. These cables, slowly pieced together, revealed the existence of REST, or Fuchs, and Mlad, or Hall. The almost impossible task of connecting code names in incomplete Soviet messages to real people in the highly compartmentalized Manhattan Project. The confession and the betrayals. Fuchs is finally confronted in 1950, a meticulous account of the interrogation where he is broken not by threats but by the cold, scientific logic of the evidence against him. His immediate confession reveals the breadth of the damage. Fuchs's information shortened the Soviet timeline for their own bomb, Joe 1 in 1949, by at least 18 months, directly establishing the nuclear parity that defined the Cold War. The silence of Hall and the tragedy of Oppenheimer. Ted Hall, though mentioned in the VENONA decrypts, remains uncharged due to lack of corroborating evidence. He lives a quiet, brilliant life as a biophysicist until his death, a secret hero traitor to history. The narrative concludes with the public spectacle of Oppenheimer's security hearing, where the government, unable to find the real ideological spies, instead punishes the man who built the bomb for his associations and his moral ambivalence. The era of pure science ends, replaced by the suffocating paranoia of the McCarthy era. The Cold War was not merely a clash of ideologies. It was a race enabled by the moral failures and profound idealism of a few dozen scientists who believed that in the face of absolute power, absolute secrecy was impossible, and perhaps even wrong.